Hello, thank you very much for clicking on this video. My name is Trip Starlick, and I really like Otome visual novels in general. I just really like them. So I decided to start reviewing the ones that I have played because I usually have a lot of thoughts about them, and I just really want to get it off my chest usually. It makes me feel better, and makes me feel good going into the next game, and I don't know, you might enjoy it too. Now, I do want to say I'm a little harsh towards this game at times. If you do like this game, like, obviously, that's great because there's lots of different kinds of visual novels for us to play, and not everything is everything that you think is good, I'm not necessarily going to think is good, and my favorites are probably not the same as your favorites, and that's okay. So, yeah. Did I hate this game? Well, I don't know. I guess it should be I don't want to spoil it, but honestly, no, I didn't. I have a lot of thoughts. Overall, this is a spoiler-free review. I do have a list of content warnings at one point. I do have a little scuba that shows up that tells you scuba is a duck that has a little spoiler sign on it that says like when the spoilers are happening, and I do say like just turn away from the video for 10 seconds before we do it so you know that it is coming. If you don't want to see the content warnings, I explain why I have it in there though, so I hope you can understand that. And yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoy. Virche Evermore Error Salvation is a game that I've been playing for over 80 hours. I need to get it off my thoughts off my chest or it's gonna plague me, I think. So this game, Virche Evermore Error Salvation is its full name. It was released for English localization. It was released in October 2023, which was the ideal time for this game to release because it's a dark fantasy otome game. Otome game is just, that term just means it's a visual novel geared towards a female audience, but anybody can play it and enjoy it, obviously. More than just dark fantasy, I'd actually just say this is just a horror game, to be real with you. This game is not for the faint of heart, as it includes so many themes that a lot of people would find upsetting at best. It is now fondly referred to as a gore fiesta among the Otome game community. But before I started playing this game, I thought, well, how bad can it actually be? It's an Otome game, and I've played horror fantasy games that are like in the Otome genre, like genre? It's not a genre, medium, before. And one of my favorite Otome games ever, Psychedelica of the Ashen Hawk, is surely a dark fantasy game, but so whatever this gore fiesta is, I can handle it, right? Let's talk about the premise of the game first, and then I'll get into my opinions. So, Virche Evermore takes place on a tiny island country that lives in isolation to the rest of the world. And the island is surrounded by these black flowers called licorice noises. They're just black spider lilies. Everyone in this country is born with a curse that leads to them dying by the age of 23. The people of this country lament that they live such short lives, but the people can actually extend their lives beyond the age of 23 with this invention. It's like a sort of cloning technology that allows a person's memories to be placed into a different body after the person dies. Among all of this, there is a girl, it's the MC, who is known to everyone as Death because everyone she involves herself with dies before the curse can kill them. This is Saris, the main character. She hates... Where is she? She's right here. The main character. She hates that this is how her life has been, that she can't, like, just live with someone without bringing harm to them. And she blames herself for the people's deaths, and she decides she's going to end her own life so she can bring no harm to anyone else. But before she could do this, a person calling themselves the Watchmen of Death appears before her and offers her an opportunity to discover the truth behind the curse and other stuff going on in the world, and the story goes from there. So if this sounded interesting to you and it sounds like something you would play, great. But I want to warn you, and I have created something, a content warning list, and I really mean it when I say this game is dark. And in my opinion, it's not just dark, it's bleak. It's hopeless. And while there are nice fluffy moments in the game, what immediately will follow is a ton of misery. And so I've compiled my own list of content warnings as I've looked around on other reviews of this game, and there are content warnings, but there are some that just aren't included on any of these, or they're like included on some and not for one. So I'm hoping to just compile a full list so you can, if you are worried about content in this game, you can look at it. If you think that's a spoiler, just look away for like, I don't know, 10 seconds and come back. Yeah. But yeah, it's a lot. And there were some that I wish that I had known about, or had known how severe it was, because I would have at least been prepared. Like, I still would have played the game, but I would have wanted to know that it was there. So it's also for people that just want to know it's in the game. So with that said, if you do love the horror genre, if you love playing dark visual novels, continue on. You're probably gonna like it. These probably won't even faze you. So yeah, let me go to that. Going now. I'm in the way. So yeah, these are the content warnings. There's a lot of them. The ones that are underlined are the ones I think that are extreme, and the rest are somewhere between moderate and minor. Yeah. So I'm just gonna leave that on screen for a second. Before I get into the actual plot of the game and like the characters and the love interests, I want to talk about the music and the art itself of the game. So I actually have no complaints about the music. I actually think the composer did a wonderful job at conveying like this melancholic feel that this entire game like encompasses. There's a lot of mysterious, like it's like how it's melancholic and mysterious. The entire game is kind of like that. It also really succeeds at gut-wrenchingly sad, depressing, hopeless moments with the music beats too. I kind of felt like the audio balancing was a little iffy at times. Sometimes the music was just too hecking loud, but that's not the composer's fault. That's like the audio designer's fault. It's mysterious and melancholic, and you never know what's gonna happen. So I actually really liked the music. But the art, this is like part of like just this here, and even looking at this here. Okay, it's the same thing, but anyway, you get it. So the character design is actually one of the most beautiful character designs I've seen in an Otome novel. Like if these people were real, they would be like the most beautiful, like marble-esque people to ever exist. Like there are some like picturesque, statuesque beauties that I think they're very European in design as well. I read like an interview with the character designer that was the plan, I guess. There are some CGs in this game though. I'm not going to show them because they're all spoilery, but some of them make the character, like they make the character's body shape look too long, or the perspective is really weird. So the character itself is like sitting at a very strange angle, and it makes the bodies look really weird. I don't know. It's just very strange. Unfortunately, I just can't give any examples, but overall, the art is good. If you play the game and you see the weird angles, you'll know what I'm talking about. I'll talk big picture first. So there are 6 love interests in Virche, and 3 of them are available at the start of the game. That is Matisse, Luca, and Cien. That's him here. After you complete those routes, you can then play Eve's route. Eve's route. His name's Eve, but with the S, because it's anyway. And after that, you unlock Adolphe's and Anko's route, and which is known as a third act of the game called the Salute, as these 2 characters share a route. Now, first off, I do think it's fine to play the first 3 love interests in any order. If you want the best experience, though, I would play Matisse first, and then Luca, and then Cien, because for better or for worse, Luca's route spoils Matisse's route, and I think that Cien's route spoils Luca's route, so I feel like it's better to just go in that order. It's best for flow of the plot, I think. The common route is actually like the nicest, the least gory portion of the game. It is still gory. It does a good job of introducing you to the world that you are being placed in, the mindset that Ceres is living in, and it also gives you a good general overview of the characters and all the side characters for that manner. I really like that Ceres and all the love interests they're all solving like a central problem on this island, and they're all solving it together in a way that exemplifies the love interests' personalities and skills. After that though, even though there are choices in this common route, and some of those choices can lead to a bad end, you're just presented with a screen where you just pick which guy you want to play first. Which I don't have a problem with this. it just surprised me because there were so many choices that I wasn't like picking choices to lead me into a certain route. It was just like I was picking choices to avoid death. I was just surprised by that. But on retrospect, I think that's just kind of how the game is. Another thing with this game is that the game just straight up does not let you experience the good, or as this game puts it, salvation endings for any of these love interests until you have completed the bad or despair ends for every single love interest. What that means is experiencing sad end after sad end after sad end, one after another. And now there are nice, sweet, cute moments in every single route, but I found myself bracing myself every route as I was just waiting for Ceres's life to spiral out of control. Despite her trying to keep everything together, she was trying so hard the whole time. And in some despair ends, I found the end to be satisfyingly sad. Like, this is just how I can't see any other way for this plot to end. And some are just downright unfair. Just completely unfair and kind of devastating. I'd also like to note before getting deeper, this is, again, a super dark game. Some of these love interests are not good people and have done very bad things. So while I'm sure if by now, if you want to play the game, you're just gonna play it, but I just feel like I gotta let you know some of these people are bad. Like, morally. Also, I want to say this game isn't just dark fantasy. To be more accurate, it's actually like a dark science fantasy. It has moments where it tries to explain how things work using like real science facts, but then twisting them in ways that make no sense at all. Like, this game is bonkers with its logic at times, and I was really getting frustrated at times, being like, this isn't even humanly possible. So my recommendation going into this is just to throw your brain out, throw all knowledge of how you think human bodies work, and just accept the weird ride that this game wants to take you on. But now I'll talk about Ceres, the main character. So Ceres is such a kind girl. She is genuinely given the roughest hands out of any Otome visual novel I have played so far. And I've played some games with MCs that have suffered like quite a bit, definitely. Like, I've played Steam Prison, I played Olympia Soiree, I've played Even If Tempest. No, Ceres is suffering the most. I do think it says something about the life that she has been given, that when Ceres is thinking about leaving life in the prologue of the game, like her life is so bad that she's like, I'm gonna go. I'm just not gonna be part of this game. But regardless of any of that, she doesn't deserve the hate that she's getting in her life. She's very caring and kind, and she literally just wants people to not hate her, and she just wants to make friends. She is more of a domestically inclined main character, as she's raised to do things like cooking and cleaning and teaching, but it's also largely hinted at that she's like really, really good at math, and I liked seeing that pop up every once in a while. She's also good at drawing, which is also nice to see. So while I actually do like Ceres, I think she was a good main character for this game because it's just a game about suffering, and she definitely suffers a lot. I really just wanted her to live a happy life. That's kind of a common theme how I feel about a lot of these characters. So yeah, I like her, but I want like an alternate universe version of this game where everyone's happy and alive and not suffering. Anyway, so the first love interest that I recommend playing this route first is Mathis, however you want to say it. Mathis is sweet and quiet. He is the younger guy of the young love interests. I think he's the same age. No, he's 1 year younger than Ceres. I don't remember how old they are. His interests include reading and writing, and he has a strong interest in investigating murders that are happening throughout the city. The town, the island, basically. He struggles to speak up and take actions at times, but he starts to open up as he gets to know Ceres and others better. And I think Ceres, or not Ceres, Ceres too. I think Mantis is a sweet being, and he means well in all his actions, so it hurts all the more to see his life and relationship that sprouts between him and Ceres descend into the chaos of his route. Yeah, this is a route where I could actually really see the bond and love growing between Mathis and Ceres, and so I suppose it really succeeded in the emotional suffering department. But I was happy and satisfied when I finally got to play his salvation ending. Yeah, he's a good character to start with, as the plot doesn't derive too far from what you already know in the common route. So Luca is voiced by Daisuke Hirakawa, and if you play a lot of Otome games, that's probably all I need to say for you to know what kind of role Luca is in this game. You know what this route's about. But for real, Luca is a teacher who travels around the various orphanages and churches on the island. He quite likes Ceres and is quick to defend her when any random citizen wants to accuse her of causing someone's death, and in general seems to have a strong sense of right and wrong. As for my impressions of his, all I can really say is this poor man. I honestly feel like Luca was dealt a very similar hand in terms of the unfortunateness to Ceres. Like, it's like, oh no, oh no. And I found him to be a character I ended up really feeling sympathy towards by the end, when I wasn't sure if I would at certain points in this route. His despair end is gut-wrenching, but I also don't know how else it would have ended. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. Then we have Cien. Cien! Praise be to Yoshimasa Hosoya for voicing an Otome game character again. I love to see it, and I love to hear it. So Cien is actually the guy who invented the technology that allows people to put their memories into a different body to extend their lives beyond the 23 years that they can live. And because he's one of the first people to be a reliver, actually I don't think I mentioned it until now, the clone memory people are called relivers in this world. It's not very important in this review, but anyway, because he is one of the first relivers, he is actually probably like 60 years old or something. So that's a thing, but whatever. As for his personality, he's pretty full of himself. He knows he's very intelligent and doesn't let others get in the way of his goals. Cien is really full of himself, but I think that he should be, because he's a genius in many aspects. And in many of the routes, the plot moves forward once Cien steps in and takes action. So go him, I guess. Overall, I like his relationship with Ceres, but I wanted more growth on Cien's part that I just don't feel like we got to see, because the plot in his route got really bogged down by external factors, so much so that his despair ending was a little bit like, huh? For me. And also halfway through his route, I realized that his name is just Science minus 2 letters, and I don't know what to think of that. I don't know how to feel about that. I guess it suits the character. Moving on, we have Eve. This is Eve. He's voiced by Saito Soma. I think this voice actor has been in the majority of Otome games I played this year, or in 2023, and so at this point Saito Soma's voice just sounds like an old friend at this point, so it's like just familiar to hear it. Anyhow, Eve he runs a handyman service on the island helping people out, and if that wasn't enough, he is also a member of a vigilante group that also tries to help people. It's called Karun. Yeah. Eve is a well-liked guy by everyone on the island, but not only is he always helping everyone out, he comes off as very positive, and he's an upbeat guy that believes in the good in everyone. So yeah, I have to agree. Eve is really just a good guy. Like, he's so heroic, he really wants to help Ceres out, and both Eve and Ceres can really relate to each other on many different topics and how they grew up, certain aspects of their like understanding of how the world works. You could feel that they were invested in each other. Other than that though, there were many aspects of this plot I really didn't like personally. Like, I feel like there's a character assassination at one point, and not like someone's being killed, but like this character, it was like, but what why did you do it like that though, huh? Why you gotta do them dirty? Actually, I feel like that's how it is for a few characters in Eve's route. And Eve's route, by the end of his despair route, everything just felt like, why? Why would you end this route that way? I'm sure I'm in the minority here. It just didn't work for me. I like Eve himself though. He's a good guy. I have Adolf. I know I said this earlier, but Adolf and Anko have a shared route, but they are their own love interests, so I will discuss them separately. Adolf is an older brother figure in Ceres' life. They're not related. They both live at the same orphanage, and he has just become very older brothery person in Ceres' life. He's the leader of the vigilante group that Eve is a part of, called Karun, and although he's a bit on the quiet side, He is always kind to Ceres and always takes action to help those in need. So my problem with Adolf throughout is not the character himself. Like, honestly, he's fine. I understand his motivations and the actions he takes, or the lack of action he takes. But what I couldn't stand was the fact that him and Anko's route is considered the entire third act of the game, and yet they make you play through a retelling of the common route again, which was just kind of exhausting. Like, there's 4 to 5 long chapters of chaotic melodrama to experience in the common route, and then there's like an additional 4 chapters in the individual love interests. So then I had to just have like 10 chapters of additional suffering in Adolf and Anko's route as Ceres figures out the chaotic melodrama of the world. So I want to appreciate Adolf, but there's so much going on in his route that he himself kind of fell to the wayside, and by the time he shows up again, I was just very tired. But that leads me to talk about Anko. Anko is the Watchman of Death that offers Ceres a deal in the prologue when she is wishing to end her life. He is there to offer her guidance in every route, and he takes more hands-on approach in Les Salutes. The plot involving Anko is much more exciting and revelatory than Adolf's, so that also kind of lead to Adolf getting buried as a love interest in terms of me caring about him anyway. I appreciate how it allows the story to come full circle. We truly understand who Ceres is by the end of it all, and ultimately Adolf and Anko get a very satisfying salvation end. But wow, it takes so long to get there. So long. Okay, I get to talk about the side characters, which I'm actually excited to talk about. These are the side characters. They're a little smaller, so I apologize. I did what I could. There's just a lot of them, and they're all important. So to move on to something more positive, the side characters, like I was saying. I actually like a good majority of them. All their personalities and motivations are really well fleshed out. They felt like real people in this world, rather than just cardboard plot device characters that you can get a lot, I think, in visual novels. In particular, I really like Dahat and Nadia. Their relationship with each other was just a net positive in my enjoyment of a route. Like, all these characters have stories that mesh really well with the love interest that they're closely related to, and plot-wise not actually related to necessarily, and they all add some nice detail to the story that makes this honestly unrealistic setting actually feel a bit more lived in and possible. This is oh my god, what is his name? I can't remember his name. John is his name. We have Nadia, Dahat, Hugo, Dr. Cappuccine, and Salome. And these are all important characters. I think these are my favorites, but I also really like Hugo, except in the route that he is the biggest character in. I felt like he wasn't himself anymore. It was strange, but otherwise it's all good. It's all good here. Yay, side characters. So first off, I just want to say that I am very aware that this is a game for specific visual novel tastes. I thought I liked darker stories as much as I like lighter ones, but I guess I have a limit on how disparate a game can get before I stop enjoying it. There are times when I myself was feeling so miserable because of the terrible things happening to Ceres and the others that I would get so... it would just get so compounded. Like, once a bad thing happens, it's all over. And more increasingly miserable things will start happening with minimal hope in sight. And for me, it got to be not very fun to play at times, but honestly, most people that have reviewed this game on the Visual Novel Database rank it above an 8, and there's like, I think like 200 ratings or so on there. So clearly my feelings are in the minority here, and I recognize it. I just needed to talk about it because I express a different perspective, I guess. So I also want to rank the love interest in terms of enjoyment of their routes and their characters, because that is what I have done in other Otome game reviews. So without further ado, my rankings for the route, from the routes themselves, from least enjoyable to most enjoyable, are Luca's least enjoyable. Then we got Eve. Then we have these two together, Adolf and Anko. Then we have Matisse and Sian. But for the enjoyment of the love interests themselves, like, did I like them as characters? It's pretty similar, actually. But it goes Luca, Adolf, Matisse, Anko, Eve, and then Cien. Which is weird because I find Cien to sit in a very weird place in my head. Like, I don't know if I really liked him as a love interest that much, but I felt like he was very interesting as a character, and I was always excited whenever he would show up because it meant something was going to happen in the plot rather than just misery. But sometimes it was misery. You know, it's just something would happen. So I guess take that as you will. But my favorite character in this game is none other than Dahut. It's Dahut. Yeah, in every route, even Le Salut, I found him to be a very charming character who I could easily feel sympathy towards. I was always happy when he showed up because he would help make the scenes feel less dour a lot of the time. And he's also like visually just the type of character I like. He has green hair and purple eyes, and he's just cute. If you played this game entirely, you may be like, huh, really? Dahut? But I stand by Dahut being the best character in the game. Sorry. I'm not sorry. I don't know why I said sorry. So, in conclusion, I personally found this game to be a slog to get through a lot of the time. It felt like every time I started to enjoy the plot was like, haha, no you aren't, and it was just a bit exhausting to complete. Not to mention, this is a very long game. I logged like 90 hours into this. I said 80, I'm pretty sure it's 90. I wrote 90 down in the notes, so I'm pretty sure it's 90. I checked. I'm totally down for a game forcing me to play a love interest bad end first, but I would have really preferred it if instead of having to play every love interest bad end and then being able to play the good ends, I would rather just have to go through the bad ends and then immediately get to play the good end after. Because it was just too much despair, honestly. It just took so much effort. Like 6 despair ends to get to 1 good end is just a lot of despair, and it would have made the misery a little less miserable, I think. However, if you have been waiting for your next dark visual novel, and you've already played really good ones like Psychedelic of the Ashen Hawk and Even If Tempest, and those are like, especially if those two are like your top Otome games, you should probably play this. I'm sure you'll like it. But I do want to warn you, those 2 games I mentioned still have semblance of hope in them, and this one does not. You're not going to get that here. I also don't recommend this game if you are new to visual novels, unless like the darker is better is your criteria for media. And I really recommend looking through content warnings before starting the game. If you know there's content that bothers you at all, that's going to be a problem if you see it, as there's a good chance it's in the laundry list of warnings that I showed earlier. So that's it. I ranked this a 5 out of 10 in the visual novel database, which they say is a so-so ranking, and that is what I would give ultimately for this game. It was so-so. I liked the characters themselves. I wish they were in a happier setting. That's kind of my thing. I also wish some of them didn't do the awful things that they did. But, you know, what can you do? Hello, just popping in at the ending. Again, if you made it this far, thank you very much. I really genuinely appreciate you watching this video. It means a lot to me. Honestly, it just means a lot to me as well, just to like talk about Otome novels in general. Like, I don't know, it feels like such a burst of emotion, and it's positive emotion, even if the things that I'm saying are not positive towards the game at all times. So the game that I am playing now, I'm actually very close to being done with. I needed to play something very sweet and low stakesy after getting through the 90 hours that I plugged into Virche. So that'll come out soon. It's gonna be a much lighter game, and yeah, it'll probably come out in April. So yeah, hope to see you then. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe. Yeah.